Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name is Beth, and if you're new, welcome. Today I'm coming to you from South Austin. We just purchased this beautiful property near my adult daughter, and we'll also be getting my youngest daughter into a wonderful special needs community in the future. She's on a waiting list, but in the meantime we are here, and I wanted to share with you my new small sewing room. It doesn't have much, but I am starting to sew a little bit here in our new home. I did bring a couple of quilts along. I didn't bring much, but I did bring two quilts, one for my daughter's room, and I have shared about this one before. I bought it at a thrift store, and I shared about how to make it. And then I have this other quilt in our room that I made a few years ago, and I will leave a link below to the pattern. It's all hand appliqued, really beautiful quilt, and I enjoyed making this one a few years back. Here's my little sewing room. I did have a sewing machine already here at my daughter's, so I set that up on this desk that we picked up at Goodwill. We've been finding little pieces of furniture to fill this home with. We didn't want to bring a lot of furniture along, so I've been picking up things here and there. This is my pressing station because I have not found an ironing board yet at the thrift store. I did, however, find these clear drawers at the thrift store, and I'll be putting threads and notions in these drawers. And I also found some fabric. Believe it or not, I found little pieces of fabric. They have been washed up so you can see all those little strings, and I will have fun creating with my new stash of hand-me-down, pretty much hand-me-down fabric that I purchased at the thrift store. I did bring a few of these little zipper bags with some projects. Not a lot, but I brought this bag of triangles that someone gave me a while back, and I thought I could play with my triangles and see what I can come up with. And today I'll be making a pot holder. I don't have a lot of pot holders here, so I'm going to make a pot holder for the kitchen. After sewing some of these triangles together, I cut off the ends before pressing, just at a little angle there so that I could get rid of those tails. And after I cut off these little tails, I'll be pressing them open to the dark side. Hopefully I'll be making more than a pot holder, so I laid out some of my half square triangles to see which design I like better. I like both of these designs, but for my pot holder, I'm just going to do a simple pattern like this with the triangles all going the same direction. And my pot holder here will be about 9 inches by 9 inches. I'll be using an older towel for the batting of my pot holder, and I've had comments saying that this is not heavy enough for some people, and you can buy that Insulbrite that really protects your hands. I don't mind using these towels. I think they're perfectly fine for me. So I'll be using this old towel, and I'm cutting it a little bit bigger than my pot holder. I'll be quilting through the 3 layers, the backing and the towel and the pot holder. After pinning the 3 layers together, I gave myself a little bit bigger stitch, and I'm going to quilt through those diagonal seams. I used a pair of scissors to cut along the edge of my little quilt here. I trimmed away the excess toweling and the backing. I'll be adding a binding to my pot holder, and I cut a strip the width of the fabric, and it's 1 3/4 inches wide, and I'm going to begin in one corner and put it right side down on the back of my pot holder here, and I'll start in one corner and I'll go all the way around. Got to that first corner, I stopped 1/4 inch away from the edge, and then I put a tiny seam at a diagonal right off the end of that corner, and now I'm going to fold that binding up and down, and the fold is right there on the top, and I'm going to begin sewing right on that fold, and I'll stop at all those corners just a 1/4 inch from the end, and then I will turn that pot holder at an angle and sew off the corner. There's usually only a couple of stitches that are on that little corner, but that is what makes that nice corner when you turn the binding to the right side and you fold it over and sew around. When I got to where I started, I stopped sewing right before that seam where I added the binding. And now I'm going to turn the binding to the front and roll the edge in and put that binding right there on the right side of that pot holder. Here is the tail of that binding, and it wraps right over the edge where I started, and I'll begin sewing on that tail. I'm going to fold it with the raw edges inside, and I'll begin sewing here on that tail, and I can top stitch all the way around. I've gone all the way around my pot holder, and now I have a tail, and so to have a little hook, I just fold that tail back, and I will stitch right on that area where the end of the tail is. I'm going to make a little sort of a box around that area, and then I'll have a little hook if I need to hang that little pot holder up, and if not, then you would just make that tail shorter and sew that end down. And here's my new little pot holder that is going to join the other two that I brought from home. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.